So as a tax sale investor, what is the difference between struggling your way through this business and actually being able to build something that's predictable, profitable, and scalable? Before we get started, my name is Casey Dimon. I've been investing in tax default real estate for more than 22 years, and I've been teaching thousands of people all around the world through my books, podcasts, and the Tax Sale Academy. You know, it's something that I do not hear people talking about enough. But once you understand it, it can completely shift the way you operate. Let me ask you a question. What is your tax sale edge? And by that, I mean, what makes you different from every other investor bidding at the same auction, researching the same property, flipping to the same buyer pool, using the same strategy? Because here is the truth. If you're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, you're going to get the same results, or more often than not, worse results, as you force it to become a race to the bottom to see who will do the most amount of work for the least amount of money. You'll turn out average at best, and oftentimes you'll be very inconsistent in your income and very, very frustrated. So let's talk today about how to find and develop your unique edge in the tax sale business and why that can be one of the most powerful things that you do. First off, what do I mean by edge? What do I mean when I say tax sale edge? Your edge is your advantage. It's what gives you a better chance of success than the investor sitting next to you or bidding against you from behind their keyboard. It might be a skill that you have that you can leverage. Maybe it's a niche that you carved out. Maybe it's a process that you develop or a way that you approach the business that is just different from everybody else. And this is very important. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to do anything crazy. You just need to find what works best for you, your niche, your angle, your edge. Because when you discover that edge, you stop competing on luck. You stop hoping that nobody bids against you for that property that everybody there has shown up to buy. You start making decisions based on strategy, not guessing. Why most investors never develop an edge? It's very simple. They spend all their time watching what everybody else is doing and then trying to copy it. You know, it's okay to take inspiration from other investors, but if you're copying what everybody else is doing at the same places they're doing it, it's not going to work out good. You know, people think, okay, I'm going to go to the same counties, bid on the same properties, and I'll list it on Facebook Marketplace or with a local realtor that handles everybody else's tax sale properties, and it's going to work out much better for me than everybody else. It does not work like that. It means you're stuck in the most crowded lanes and that you have your own strengths, your own creativity that goes completely untapped because you're trying to copy people. Let me be very clear. Again, there's nothing wrong from learning from other people. That's the reason I do this podcast. That's the reason I wrote my book. That's the reason I teach through the Tax Sale Academy. But learning and copying are two different things. Your job is to learn and then adapt and build your own angle, your own edge. So let's talk about some tax sale edges that I've seen over the years. Let me give you a few examples. And of course, keep in mind that these are all real strategies I've seen work with real investors, and there's thousands and thousands of other ones. Some investors specialize in OTC properties in very, very rural counties. They'll buy cheap stuff, sell it for cheap prices. They'll make a few $100 or maybe a couple $1,000, move on and do it in volume. They don't even go to auctions. Another one is narrowing in on one or two small counties that are not very well populated, but you go to those auctions every single month, and that kind of becomes your wheelhouse. I've seen investors absolutely dominate a single rural county because they know every road, every neighborhood, every rule in the tax sale office. The investors that are local to that area, the ones that live there, they don't want the vacant lots. They just go after the houses, so all the vacant lots sell for the opening bid amounts. And I've talked about the next one many, many times. There's people that leverage the internet. They build a massive buyer's list. This is huge. Some investors, including myself, are able to sell properties extremely quick because they've built up the buyer demand over the years. I've seen some people out there putting together beautiful listings, drone videos, land buying websites, all the stuff that stands out for $1,000, $2,000 lot, but they're able to do it with such systems that it doesn't cost them much of anything. And those properties look very appealing. They're able to sell them very, very quickly when they're marketed well. I've seen people do completely remote tax sale investing. I've seen many people do it. And actually, on a recent episode of the Tax Sale Podcast, I've talked about a gentleman that has built a quasi e-commerce site where he sells lots, vacant lots, and the occasional house on a website as if he is selling clothing. It's phenomenal. You know, there are other people that might have an experience in construction and land use, zoning. Maybe you're a paralegal for a real estate attorney. Maybe you have connections with a surveyor. Maybe you've done title work. Maybe you're just really good at researching data. All these things can give the average investor who doesn't think they have an edge some sort of edge that they can apply to their business. So how do you find your edge? How do you find your angle? Obviously, I've given you a few ideas, but ask yourself, what part of the business do you enjoy most? Are you drawn to the data side, the marketing, the negotiation? Maybe you really, really like travel and you don't mind driving 4, 5, 6 hours from the nearest airport to go to an auction in a very, very small county where you know everybody there's going to be local because nobody else in their right mind is going to drive there. Maybe you enjoy that kind of thing. That's up to you. What skills do you have that other folks might not have? Maybe you're good at tech. Maybe you're just a natural at sales and you'd rather hop on the phone with every potential buyer and give them your sales pitch to sell them the property. Maybe you love spreadsheets and you can really narrow down the properties that you are interested in by adding them to your spreadsheets. Maybe you're the type where you like coding and you can code your own website. Whatever it is, you probably have a skill that you can use to help build your edge. What part of this business can you get really, really, really good at if you focus? Maybe your focus is you will outwork everybody. Could you become the go-to person for buying tax liens on the secondary market in this specific state? Could you become the go-to person for maybe cheap houses in a specific county or a city? There's so many different angles out there. And even if you think that you don't have an angle, maybe you're like, listen, I don't understand any of this stuff. I'm not good at sales, not good at marketing. I'm not good at talking to people. Whatever it is, with enough focused work, you can develop your own angle, your own edge. Again, by putting forth the effort to learn. You're not looking for the hardest path. You're looking for the path that fits you best. And that path is different for nearly every single investor. But your edge is what's going to give you the advantage to make money in this business instead of just trying to do what everybody else does. So how do you build and how do you sharpen your edge? Once you find that thing, whatever it is, you've got to really hone in on it. You have to really build it up. And that takes time, repetition, and intention. Let's say your edge is maybe something you think unrelated. Maybe you're really good behind a camera. You're a good photographer. Well, take the best photos possible of that vacant house, of that lot, whatever you're trying to sell. Maybe that is your edge. Fantastic photos. And maybe you can use those same creative skills to build incredible flyers that you begin to post everywhere in all the different online forums you send out to a buyer's list. Maybe your edge is your artistic side, or maybe your edge is tech. Build a spreadsheet or a system to analyze the deals for you based on the criteria that you want, and then go in there and manually verify all that information. Maybe you streamline your diligence for what you can do, instead of taking 4 hours, you do it in an hour because you know the tech side of things. Maybe that is your edge. You're able to just do volumes and then, of course, again, verify it manually. You don't need to be great at everything. You just need to be great at something that matters. So why is all this important? Because when you have an edge, you will find ways to get into deals that a lot of people might not want, might not overlook, might not use the same strategy that you'll be using. When you have an edge, you'll be able to move much faster than your competition. When you have an edge, you'll be able to get into your business, leverage that edge in a way that's repeatable and sustainable. And most importantly, it'll give you something to build your confidence off of as you begin to grow your tax sale business. Confidence in the process. confidence in your ability to spot a good deal based on your specific edge, your specific objectives and strategies. And once you have that, you're not just another tax sale investor trying to copy everybody else to see who will do it for the cheapest amount of money. You are a real business owner. You're a real investor with a defined strategy and an actual edge in the market. So let me ask you this question. What is your tax sale edge going to be? If you don't know yet, that's okay. That's part of the journey. That's the reason I did this podcast, to get you to think about going at things a little bit differently, to get you to think about how you should pay a little bit closer attention to maybe this skill that you have, or that bit of knowledge that you have, or this thing that you can do differently, to start testing out different angles, and more importantly, to stop trying to do tax sale investing the way that everybody else is doing it. The people who go the furthest in this business, the ones who you see doing deal after deal after deal, year after year, decade after decade, are the ones who find something that they're really good at and they went all in on. Whether that is just your desire to travel across the country, go into auctions, or maybe you're a great photographer, maybe you can put together a fantastic spreadsheet, maybe you can build a website, maybe you have great sales skills that you can use on the phone. Maybe you're just really good at follow-up. Maybe you have the skills where you can go out there and talk to investors to build some sort of money fund. Maybe you have the insight with mobile home dealers that you can put mobile homes on the lots you're buying. Whatever it is, find your edge. Your edge is out there, and once you find it, the game changes and your life will change because of it. If this episode helped you think about your approach just a little bit differently, or if you are ready to start developing your edge, this episode was definitely worth the listen. And I truly hope that is what this episode is. I hope it gives you the insight that you need to start thinking about things just a little bit differently than everybody else. Hey, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Tax Sale Podcast. As always, if you enjoyed this episode or any of the episodes here on the podcast, please do me a huge favor. Please leave a 5-star review. Click that thumbs up button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you have a few seconds, you might even leave us some positive feedback comments. They really help us out in the algorithm world and might just serve to pay it forward to somebody who learns about this incredible business because you took a few seconds out of your day to leave that positive feedback. We'll see you next time right here on the Tax Sale Podcast. Make it a successful day. Bye-bye.